makes more sense. Oh, now it wants to get over.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh, come on. All right. I'm going to disengage, let this guy pass. There we go. Real pain in the rear, because 12.3.3 and before had pretty good staging. The vehicle would prepare for the maneuver, get into the proper lane ahead of time, and it just felt good. It felt competent, it felt like it knew what it was doing. Now it kind of feels like a whole lot of, oh crap, I gotta turn here, and that's not good. Let's see how we handle this drive. What is going on, my friends? We are out in St. Pete, right on the coast at Madera Beach, Florida, and we're heading to a supercharger now near the Skyway, which is a massive bridge out here. That's really dope. And we're just trying to get to that charger so I can continue my work day. And it's a relatively foggy day out, which is another reason I wanted to bring up FSD and see what happens. Of course, we're on 12.5.4.2. We have not seen the alleged 12.6 coming out yet that we should hopefully be getting by end of year. Not sure when exactly this video is going up. Really trying to keep up with the 3 days a week thing for now. It's done great things for the channel already as far as views and getting some subscriber growth back, which is awesome. And of course, a little monetary bolstering, which is great, all going towards Mewtwo, which I ran all my predictive numbers about how I want to do this, and probably by April at the latest, I will definitely have Mewtwo. It really depends on like how long it'll take from ordering to delivery day. I should be able to take delivery as early as some point in March. Financially, April would be even better because I'll have a nice little chunk for a down payment by then. So fortunately, the rush is really just my desire to have version 13 and to be able to bring you guys the updated content on hardware 4 and eventually hardware 5. And I mean, getting Mewtwo is going to be a great catalyst for just a nice boost to my life in general, because Mew is going to generate revenue on Turo, hopefully. That's the ambition. And Mewtwo and I will be getting to work, and I'll also have Mew to be able to compare what's going on with hardware 3 versus hardware 4 by the time I have Mewtwo, which is my Performance Model 3, the new one, for anybody who isn't aware. Oh shit, that's a Lightning. That's awesome. So F-150 Lightning being used by the city, so it's probably part of the the commercial truck program or whatever. That's really cool to see. I love seeing the Lightnings being employed by the city or by the region or whatever's going on. One of the reasons I also wanted to get onto this drive is that, you know, some folks brought up in the video where I finally got the red wheel disengagement with the heavy rain at night, that fog has been a problem. Now this fog is not super dense, so that's not to say that this is really an end-all test for my car, but I also want to remind everybody who maybe saw that or didn't catch it that I am suspecting or speculating that I have a higher threshold to failure condition for that red wheel disengagement. I'm speculating that because while a lot of other folks, including my buddy Elias, are getting red wheels when you would more normally expect them, which is annoying, it takes a lot for me to get one. Like, in the last update, 12.5.4.1, I was getting them in low light conditions for people driving this way with their high beams on. It was bad. I have a couple of videos showing that and talking about that. And of course, for everybody being familiar with the low sun conditions, rising and setting suns would very easily trigger a red wheel force takeover because of the glare. Miss Jillian's pointed out in the mountain roads with the fog, she's had that issue. You know, these are problems that need to be resolved. But what's interesting though is with what I'm speculating again to be the case, that they've raised that threshold so much for me to maybe see what the upper limit might be till it's like not safe. And the results have been fantastic in my own testing. And again, I'm not saying, like, Tesla didn't tell me they did this, and I'm not saying that Tesla definitively did. I'm speculating, but it wouldn't be that surprising that maybe with my patch of 12.5.4.2, there also was a code to have a higher threshold limit for red wheel takeovers. And my car has been blitzing through heavy rain, low light, and everything with no more than like the degraded alert that, hey, FSD is degraded, and even sometimes in rare cases won't change lanes because a camera is blocked or blinded. So to me, that sounds like other thresholds are being hit before the forced red wheel takeover even is. And I really like that if they are doing that, I'm being very specific with my words here, that is really cool because it's showing them the upper threshold limits and is probably going to allow for a much better calibration for future builds, especially for hardware 3, but even hardware 4, because the newer hardware, as you would expect, would have less limiting factor or more capability, more tolerances in different areas. Sorry, I'm getting a little bubble in my throat. But That being said, I'm loving to find, or I'm looking for conditions where I can test that limit and see, and I'm not even getting a degraded alert right now. I mean, it's pretty well lit, and again, the fog is here in the distance. The visibility, though, is pretty great, I would say. I mean, I don't even need to give you a number estimate. You guys can see how far ahead I can see, and then you can see where the fog finally does kick in. What is that, like maybe 100 meters? 50 to 100 meters out, the visibility gets a little worse. Now, what is happening, I know we have a left turn coming up, but we've been in this lane the whole time, and again, this harkens back to, hopefully by the time you're seeing this, other videos where I've talked about the most annoying thing on 12542 is its tendency to stay in the left lane. And now we're doing the weird thing where Mew kind of wants to go around this traffic because there's an open lane there, but it conflicts because there's like an overweight on staying in the left lane. And that is so frustrating because this to me is still a passing lane. Turn is coming up. Yes, I already acknowledged that. It makes sense to get over early. That's part of staging. That's why all of this can be a little complex. I think it is good to be here in this lane now, but in a lot of cases, like probably one of the ride-along videos before this, I show you how I keep canceling the left turn execution. I'll either reference that video or maybe put it up on the screen for you to see because it just wants to get over, which, you know, hopefully isn't an issue with 12.6. Whenever it does come out, hopefully soon. We're only a couple of days away. I mean, honestly, if it's really end of year, then it needs to be out tomorrow night. So we'll see, guys. I don't think I'm going to hit the 200 customer count before then, which would be kind of cool to see FSD come in. Unless it does miss the end of year deadline, then we'll see what happens. So far, this drive is going pretty well. Not too complicated. We're just heading to a supercharger kind of out here in St. Pete. Once we make this left, it's basically just a straight road. Actually, there we go. Let's complicate it. Let's go down this path that has more turns. FSD's yelling at me because I'm looking at my display. Refocusing forward. You see my eyeballs. There we go. Hopefully that gets its own tweaks in the future. Like, I get it, you know, warning people to pay attention, but when I'm changing something navigationally on my screen, I don't know, there should be some sort of threshold. Maybe the more you're looking away, or the more you're holding something, the more sensitive. Whatever. I mean, small details. That'll get worked out in time. This is still far and above better than the constant need to nag. So I'll take the little annoyances where they come, you know. Talk about first world problems. You know, 12542, initially when I first got it, I was kind of excited because of the red wheel takeover thing seeming to be gone. But it definitely showed its sort of lack of competency over time when it came to customer rides. I mean, if you've seen the CYBRLFT dashboard part of the tracker, you'll notice my RoboTaxi trips or customer trips. Come on, we need to go. Come on. They've trended down. And something that, thanks to the hard work of my buddy Elias, we've managed to put in the tracker now, is you have an ability to see how the performance compares with trip length. All right, good speed bump deceleration, right turn signal, though we're not changing lanes. Maybe because we're favoring left lane again. Okay, now we're sloppily kind of getting over. Not ideal. I'm gonna shoot that back to Tesla. Turn signal was on. Yeah, technically a solid single yellow. Those are usually only allowed to get over in an emergency case, so that wasn't great. Those little sorts of competency problems are definitely all through 12542's build. And I'm really excited to see what 12.6 brings. I'm not expecting 12.6 to be like revolutionarily better. I hope that it is highway neural net stack, because I think that'll go a long way. To go back to what I was saying about how we've separated trips out to where you can look at, you know, shorter trips versus longer trips and how the success correlates. Because in order to make more money and to be more efficient with my time, to be able to get out content and earn a living properly, I've had to change my tactics with Uber and Lyft and such, because the earnings in Florida are kind of rough. They definitely don't have a good system out here as far as how they value the rides out. Because if you're not careful, you'll spend over an hour on a $15 ride, maybe a $20 ride if you're not paying attention, whereas you could be spending the same amount of time to earn, you know, $40, $50, $60, which is something I've figured out and I do now. My first ride out here to St. Pete was a $50 ride, and it was only about an hour and 20 minutes of my time, which wasn't bad. But that aside, with me doing these longer rides, the trips are longer, there's more chance for something to happen that will cause a takeover and me to have to count it as a failed trip. So on longer trips, especially on 12542, that's helped kind of tick it down overall. I'm going to give us throttle because this seems to be one of those roads where the speed limit is way lower than it should be. It's saying 24K, which is like 15 miles an hour. Everyone's doing like 30. So I'm on the throttle, which is why it says cruise control will not brake. Oh, there we go. Now we ticked up to 56K or 35 miles an hour, which that's about what it should be. So cool. I still sent that back to Tesla. You know, eventually, hopefully, AI Driver has said this as well, and many others, that Tesla has all this built-in ability to basically completely disrupt the map space. Ooh, fog's getting heavier. And make a much more reliable system for speed limits and mapping and everything. So hopefully we see that as well. I feel like that wouldn't take a whole lot of effort given all the data Tesla has. Probably just isn't really in the forefront of what they want to get done. Hopefully it becomes the case, because that would make all of our lives a lot better and our routing a lot more accurate and probably improve the customer trip success rate. But having lost track of what I was saying there. Oh, yeah, all of that was to say that with the longer trips, 12.6 having the neural net built in to where it's full city and highway neural net and not the split thing that we've had forever on version, or hardware 3, sorry, it will probably also improve that, because a lot of the derpy mistakes that lead to staging problems and takeovers and not miss exits has to do with the highway code not really being up to par with the city street side of things. City street still definitely has its staging problems, especially with the way it wants to favor the left lane. I'm actually really happy that we've actually stayed in this right lane the whole time, because that usually isn't the case. Even if I were to tick all the way down to chill and put on minimal lane change, it'll sometimes still hyperfixate on changing to that left lane. Wow, yeah, there's like damn near no visibility to the right. That's crazy. Haven't had any issue on this drive. And again, I know this isn't the worst fog ever, so I'm not like super excited or blown away by it, but you know, it's still not ideal, perfect conditions that some people think you have to have for FSD to work. I've already proven that to be false when it comes to Mew here just handling rain like he was a born and raised Floridian. It's super impressive when that happens. Heavy rainfall and FSD's got it. I mean, if you guys go back to the video where I basically turned my car into a boat for about a minute or two, that was all on FSD, so it was just like, all right, let's go. Not scared at all. In that case, probably a little worrisome. You know, you probably shouldn't be up to your windshield in water, but it's not like I planned it. Good for content though, right? Most of my time, aside from these longer trips too, have been on the city street side of things, so the focus has been pretty good. We're heavy braking there because of how they're walking across the street. They're looking at me confused. They're also not passing in a place where, you know, people would normally pass. I gave us a little throttle just to move us along because they were intending to walk slow for us to pass by. So, awkward little scenario there. That, from what I've seen from like AI drivers videos and stuff, seems version 13 handles that way better. Another reason I'm really excited to get Mew 2 and experience that myself. So, for anyone who did miss it, or if I forgot to say it or I didn't say it well, I'm keeping Mew. Mew's staying with me. I'm going to try, you know, making money through Turo, renting him out, as well as using him too to keep up. You know, there will be version or hardware 3 content as well. So, you know, I know a lot of people are just going to want to see the version 13 stuff with Mewtwo, but I'm not, you know, Mew is kind of the success flag, or like the flagship of content for hardware 3. And I know so many of us have hardware 3, so I'm not going to abandon that, you know. And as hardware 3 is going through its changes, you know, through Mew, I will bring out that content for everybody so we can kind of keep up with what's going on there. Whether they're point releases or an eventual retrofit to hardware upgrades or whatever, I'm going to bring all that content to you guys so you can see the hardware 3 journey in tandem with the hardware 4 journey with Mewtwo. So that's the goal, at least. You know, I want 2025 is going to be a really big content year for me. And a lot of aims for growth, and you know, kind of a confusing spot, but Mew's got it. He already knows where we're going. But yeah, lots of version 13 hardware 4 content, and then also hardware 3 version 12 or 13 content, or wherever it goes. It's gonna be a fun time. I do, before I get 12.6, I'm gonna make sure I get out a video I did with trying out actually Smart Summon. That was hilarious. Yeah, I won't spoil it. It was an interesting time. I hope you guys enjoy that video. That's going to be kind of funny. It pretty much did what I thought it was going to do. I'm not really too surprised. I'm looking forward to the improvements in Summon that'll come with probably version 13, or just when they iterate on actually Smart Summon and make it more and more usable. I've not really used it much. You know, that can probably tell you all you need to know there. And I'm sure plenty of you have tried it and you messed around with it yourself and know what I'm talking about. But, you know, it's fun to play with. has its very rare niche use cases for me. Man, that light took forever. I just stopped talking so we could just like fast forward through this light. That way we're not wasting too much time. Bit of a longer video because this was about a 26-minute drive to the charger. And man, yeah, that happened because I'm giving us a little throttle to push us through that yellow just because of circumstantial. That wasn't really FSD's fault. I just didn't want to get stuck at that light again because how slow that truck was moving. But that's the red wheel that'll pop up when it's intending to actually stop because of like a traffic stop. And I haven't managed to catch it on camera yet, so you'll have to kind of take my word for it. And not that it's a super big deal, but on some of those occasions where we get the braking during green lights, which is really annoying, there have been some cases where I've gotten a few of them. So like when I come up to a green light, I would just automatically put my foot on the throttle and it triggers that red wheel as if it's thinking it's a yellow light or something. So it to me points to a deeper, more intrinsic issue with 12542 and the whole green light problem. So that was interesting. I've not managed to catch the damn thing doing it on video, which really bothers me because, you know, it's hearsay at this point because I'm just telling you about it. So, you know, even with me, if you just trust what I do and my integrity and everything I've said and done, I hope that none of you take it as where, like, you'll just believe anything I say. And, you know, I think the audience is pretty smart. Cool, we're getting around this guy before he gets over. Like, when it comes to me and big names and personalities in Tesla and anything who say anything about anything, it's always good to have a healthy level of skepticism and to not just run with what you hear. So that's why I wish I had that on video so I could just show an example to you guys of it showing me that little alert through a green light. But I mean, it made sense to me when it happened. I was like, yeah, I figured there's some underlying issue they got to resolve. Feels like we're going so slow, but we are going just a hair over the speed limit, which is nice, because usually FSD is going below the speed limit, especially if the speed limit out here is like 89k or 55 miles an hour. FSD will be going like 80k or like 50. And when it jumps up to 97k or 60 miles an hour, it's still going like 50 to 55 miles an hour. And I have to give it throttle because I'm like, come on, man, let's go. What are we doing? I don't think that that's been fully resolved in version 13. I think it still kind of like hovers around the speed limit, which I mean, honestly, is fine. It's just in certain areas where people are really impatient. They're like on your bumper, especially in Florida. I might have already mentioned this a couple of times, but some Florida drivers, a good percentage of them, way more than any other state I've driven in, are on your bumper, like on your ass, to the point to where I'm letting regen do its thing to get a point across because that pisses me off. Like far enough back that I can reach out and touch you. That is so dumb. And so many drivers out here do that. If you're one of them, fix yourself. It's ridiculous. But that is where it also staying below the speed limit can be a problem, because in that case, I understand being frustrated. I don't think it's cool to be like 6 inches off of someone's bumper, but it is really annoying when FSD does tend to stay way too low. But on the contrary, when somebody gets up on my bumper like that, and let me know if you guys have seen this in some cases with you, maybe not as much, the car will kind of run away from them, and that can be a problem, because I've had somebody on my ass where I couldn't really get out of their way, and it ran FSD up about 15-20 miles an hour over the speed limit before I was able to take over, and then I punched it and got out of the person's way, because they were just driving that, like, dangerous. I was worried at that point. But it will make FSD, like, run away and go way over the speed limit. That's not good. There needs to be a balance between avoiding collision and also just kind of ambiguously creating distance just because they're that close to you. So I don't know, that might be a bit more of a difficult problem to solve. It'll be less of a problem when there's less humans on the road, because humans just suck and they want to do that kind of a thing. Drives me nuts. But yeah, these are all sorts of things I'm looking out for version 12.6 and on. And depending on how long this slide is, we'll zip through this as well. There we go. All right, now we're moving along. About 7 minutes out from the charger, not doing too bad. Haven't really had any issues. I mean, I've given a couple of, like, I wouldn't even call them courtesy interventions. I don't look at them in the same way as a normal disengagement, because I just wanted to get us through that light and such. I don't like that we're cruising in the left lane again, and we're still like 2.5 clicks out from the right turn, so we'll see what happens there. I'm a little bit back on what I was saying before the light, though. A couple of things, guys, that I'm looking for 12.6 that I hopefully see a change or an improvement on is the left lane favoritism sucks. I hope it stops, and I hope it just kind of naturally flows and doesn't sit in the left lane. I hope that when it comes to both city streets and highway, that it actually gets, there was a little braking during that green light, caught that after the fact, hit that back. Hopefully for highway though and city, that the profiles, the driving profiles or whatever, are better about getting out of passing lane and getting out of rightmost lane, because with this update on the highway, whether I'm in chill, average, or assertive, it seems that once it gets into that passing lane, it just doesn't get out of it. Occasionally it does. There are some areas of the 570 and on I-4 and parts of 275 where it seems like maybe because of the region or map data that it remembers what it's doing and it gets out of the passing lane or the rightmost lane. So I hope that that's more efficient. So left lane, lane selection in general, and green light braking. And on top of that, actually I think, no, there's something else that was coming to mind, but I can't remember now because there's so much going on. Most of the time we're okay with right on reds. I had an issue this morning where I had to intervene because it wasn't obeying a right on red. It was a really deep kind of long right on red though, like one of those ones where you're going straight for probably like 2 car lengths and then you turn right. But there was a clear no turn on red sign right there to the right of the car, and we proceeded through. Most of the time though, it seems to get that right. But yeah, I'm looking for a couple of those things, and hopefully for me maintaining the red wheel takeover threshold, hopefully that doesn't go the other way and then I start getting red wheels again. You guys will definitely know that real quickly, because I'll be like, yep, red wheels happening, sunset, sunrise, nighttime, rain, all the conditions I drive in will show that really clearly. But yeah, neural net on both city and highway, hopefully. Left lane favoritism. Oh yeah, the weird little phantom braking stuff that is really just false positive detection of like trees or debris on the side of the road. That's another really annoying thing that's happened a lot, especially post-hurricane. Hasn't been as much of a concern since a lot of the debris and all has been cleaned up, but there's still certain areas like through Brandon and Tampa and Land of Lakes and Sarasota and some of the back roads where it'll just randomly get on the brakes and like put you in your seat, and that is just not comfortable and really derpy, especially considering that ahead of you it's totally clear. Staging, that's another one. This is a consistent issue throughout any region I'm driving in, where we got all the way up here to this light before I decided to get over into this right lane. I do think that's partially tied into the left lane favoritism, because I don't really notice that staging issue when I'm making a left. I really only noticed that staging issue the last minute lane change when making a right. And if you go back to one of the most recent customer reactions videos, at the very end of the trip, it's the reason I had to take over, because it was waiting till the last minute, and of course humans were closing off the merge, so I couldn't get in. Makes more sense. Oh, now it wants to get over.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh, come on. All right. I'm gonna disengage, let this guy pass. There we go. Real pain in the rear, because 12.3.3 and before had pretty good staging. The vehicle would prepare for the maneuver, get into the proper lane ahead of time, and it just felt good. It felt competent. It felt like it knew what it was doing. Now it kind of feels like a whole lot of, oh crap, I got to turn here, and that's not good, especially when you have customers and you're trying to be a competent taxi and not waste their time. Speaking of wasting time, I was just letting that light change, so we zipped through a little bit of that. But we're about finished up here with this drive. It handled really well. A little bit of a road dip there. Oh, not great, not horrible, but not the best. But yeah, the fog didn't really provide too much of a challenge. It also, again, wasn't super dense. Man, that's a very pink house, my gosh. But yeah, I mean, FSD continues to generally perform really well. I mean, there are only those little pet peeves of mine that's, I'm in the car all day, you know, sometimes 12 plus hours a day. I see that stuff a lot, so I don't know, I might be a little bit more grumpy about it or a little bit more vocal about it. Now, speaking of debris though, yeah, this is the kind of thing that would normally set off that braking issue, so I'm really glad that didn't happen there. It always seems to happen when I've got a customer with me, and it just feels dumb because I'm like, sorry, that was my car, not me, my bad. Sometimes I'd preemptively kind of have my foot over the throttle so I could like force it not to brake. Just so I could kind of tell when it was going to happen. But aside from those little issues though, and the way I complain, it is mostly impressive. You know, it does a lot of things really well. It for the most part, handles a lot of the trips really well. Sure, the success rate's bad because it's not doing the whole trip like it was before, or without me having to help it, which is the whole reason that I love doing this is the test, the proof of concept and the competency as an actual RoboTaxi, cybercab, whatever you want to call it. And that'll go on going forward for as long as we're testing this until RoboTaxis are basically ubiquitous and everywhere, and kind of yesterday's news. But I think that'll about do it. I mean, we're less than a kilometer away from... Actually, let's see how this... We got... This water might freak it out because it doesn't know how deep it is. Plus, we have no light and a tilted stop sign. So, I got a guy behind us, so I don't want to wait too long. Oh, there we go. FSD's moving. Kind of acting weird. And we got a bump up here. Alright, not bad. Yeah, see, that was great. It pretty much handled that like you would hope it would. And if the fog wasn't here, you'd probably be able to see the Skyway Bridge. It's a really badass bridge that goes over from St. Pete into Brandon and Sarasota. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought. I know this is a bit longer and kind of just chatting with the audience, talking about stuff. And, I like doing this from time to time. Just me and you guys and FSD here with you, talking about what it's doing, what's coming. Hope you all look forward to all the upcoming content and wish me luck when it comes to getting the car. And of course, my GoPro, I guess, just overheated. I will be switching this to an Osmo as well. I've been sort of tempted to see how the GoPro 13, Hero 13 is, since this is the Hero 11, but I've been so annoyed by GoPro overheating and being a problem when the action has been nothing but great for me, including the microphone. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed all that. Sorry, ranting. Looking forward to all the content to come. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.